the responsibility and of ensuring the financial health of a nonprofit is such a weight that I feel like I can only be in conversation with other folks who have had the experience of running a nonprofit and knowing that responsibility both to the team as well as to the mission and the impact of the organization. Institutional philanthropy, I'm thinking of corporate giving, I'm thinking of foundation giving, has historically been led by white people and white dominant institutions. And at the same time, we know that individuals make up the largest portion of giving in the United States. We also know research shows us, my own lived experience tells me that poor people give more per capita than folks in higher income brackets. There's a tension between all of that for me. As I think about that, there's complexity and nuance and understanding the relationship between individual giving, knowing that nonprofit organizations really do rely on large foundations or corporate giving in order to sustain the work. And I feel so very eager. The heart of the thing that I want to talk to y'all about today as fellow women of color leading nonprofits is how do you disrupt or reimagine this work of fundraising alongside the work that you're doing around movement building?
Many, I think, in big philanthropy have faced a lot of their own growing pains, to put it quaintly, to try to adapt, right, to this growing community of consciousness and to a spirit of activism. And so I think that's why individual giving remains so relevant, because when you give, right, you're not just giving money, but you're also taking ownership of the work that's being done.
And I think it's taking us back to really understanding the history, right, of the nonprofit industrial complex and recognizing that nonprofits exist because of two reasons. The first, because we're filling in the gaps. And then the second is that we were founded as an industry, as a sector by white women who could not vote, who could not work, and who were wealthy and wanted to get involved in their communities, right? And so I think recognizing those two dynamics is really, really important as we're having this conversation. With this new wave of other, people of color who are in these positions now of leadership. And it's not always fun, but I also think it's necessary, right? For us to not only talk about change externally in our communities, but also talk about the change that we need internally here in the sector that is screaming for change and is screaming for more equity.
To hold the weight, right, of the mission of our respective organizations on top of trying to acknowledge the history of the nonprofit sector, on top of trying to disrupt it while creating something new. I'll be honest, every time I am in conversation with a local funder, I feel reminded that the revolution will not be funded.